Why are you running this time? What, has something changed, or you have more time, or
Well,
why?
naturally, I mean, with the pending retirement, I'm going to have more time. But also with some of the issues that are coming up, particularly from the standpoint of the financial issues, I have some knowledge, some experience that I think could be helpful. So,
And then we kind of touched on this, but you've been in the community for 40 years. You've been on the council before, so
yeah.
you, talk a little bit about your background and what you think in your background gives you the experience to be on the council this time.
Well, I mean, the first time around, what I really enjoyed, I was on Ways and Means, which we were talking about the taxation, the financial part of that. I was involved with one of the property committees at that time. That in one of the projects that we worked on at that time, and it came to pretty good results, was annexing the Walton Lake area initially, and now there's some nice homes out there that border the golf
Right.
course. So I've had some good experience in the past with that, and I think we could again take that and improve upon it.
Okay. Um, and you can answer this any way you'd like to. Three most important concerns or topics or issues facing Fairfield right now.
Well, again, the three things that I see, and particularly this comes a little bit from my experience as a CPA, in some of the clients we have, jobs is a big concern. We have manufacturers in town, particularly manufacturers, that are having a hard time finding people for whatever reason. It's not that the jobs aren't there, and whether or not there's adequate housing, it's too far for the people to drive back and forth, whatever it may be. But but also from it's what I call a tax base problem. We need to grow our revenues, and that happens through tax base. There's not too many other ways to be able to grow the revenues particularly of a city. Infrastructure is a problem. We have issues with our sewer, with our water, with our streets, as most any community does at this point. But those are things that we need to address.
The financial situation with the bond rating reduction, um, I think that might have caught some people outside because you go through Fairfield and you're like, this looks like a happening place. I
Yes.
mean, this
Mhm.
is not, a place that you would, I mean, some of these towns you go through, you're like, well, I can see why they'd be in trouble.
Right.
So, what's the root of that problem, and what's the best way to address it going forward?
Well, I think the root of the problem, as I understand it, goes back, I mean, several years. Some of it is there was anticipation, I think, that the Logan Apartments would be sold at a certain time. Some budgets were prepared based upon that. It didn't happen at the time that they were hoping. The initial projections for the sale were higher than what the actual sale turned out. So again, when you base certain decisions upon something that you think is going to happen and it comes in at less than that, um, bad things happen in a sense. And then, and unfortunately, from a city standpoint that I see, there's no good way, there's no quick fix. It's not that it can't be fixed, but it's going to take some time, some effort, some patience type thing. And the meeting that was held, it's been several weeks ago now probably, with the representative from Piper Jaffray,
Right.
and that's basically what he said. I mean, it's not that. I mean, the place isn't going to sink into the ground here in 2 weeks, uh, but it is going to take some time and effort. It's going to take cooperation and teamwork all the way around.
I was just going to ask. I mean, it's not that that's a good thing to have happen, but is that one of those things that tends to sound really, really awful and is not quite the
I,
disaster that?
yeah, I think the bark is worse than the bite type thing. That it's there. It's not. Yes, it's not good. It does have some effect. Uh, Institutions and that want to buy the bonds, and the cities live off of bonding. It does have an effect upon that, no doubt about that. But it's not the kind of thing that people need to get up and move away or anything like that. I mean, it can be corrected.
And you touched on this a little bit before, but I'll go ahead and ask you. There's been some talk in the past about a lack of low and moderate income housing in Fairfield. And you kind of mentioned that the manufacturers that maybe that was a problem.
Mhm.
So what do you do to address how that? You say low income housing, and some people are thinking, oh my God. but you do
Yeah.
have to have places for people.
Yes,
to
right.
live.
And I don't, when they talk, in the studies that I've seen so far, and I have to admit, I haven't seen all of those, but when they talk low to moderate income, I mean, the whole southeast Iowa area, and Fairfield is no different than that, tends to have a lower than the statewide average median income. But these people, everybody needs a place to live, and they'd like to, in most cases, they try to be closer to their work if that's possible. And I don't know, in order to address the problem that I see anyway, Fairfield, I saw something in one of the studies, we have like maybe it's 150 available possible places to build, but they're spread throughout the city. I mean, it's for contractors, generally, they like to come in and have a place where they could build maybe 15, 20 houses at a time. It's hard for us as a city to have that kind of space available. So it's not that it can't be done, but again, it's one of those things that it probably isn't going to happen overnight. And if we could do 2, 3, 4 at a time, something like that, it would help alleviate some of the problems. It's not going to solve that, but it's a way to approach it.
And when you're running for office, it seems like the easiest thing to talk about is what's wrong. You know, I mean, all these things are wrong. We got to fix them. What does Fairfield have going for it? What do you like about Fairfield? What could you sell about Fairfield? What should people know about Fairfield?
So, well, I think to attract people, I mean, it's a good, stable community. It's a great place to raise a family. There's a lot of amenities there that with the hospital, the community centers that we have, the arts and entertainment facility. So there's a lot of things there that are local that you can get the same kind of thing in a larger city. And yet we're also located, I mean, we're 2 hours from Des Moines, an hour from Iowa City, the Cedar Rapids area. If they want something outside of that, major cities, there's 5 major cities within a half day's drive. So we have those kind of things. But the thing I like most about Fairfield, I initially lived in Chicago before I came to Fairfield. I could be at my office in 5 minutes. I was spending an hour to an hour and a half a day commuting one way. And people coming from a larger city find that hard to believe that, and in my case, if you're selling time, which is what my product is, 3 hours a day is a big deal.
And we've kind of touched on all of this, but opportunities for economic development, where are they? What do we need to do in Fairfield to take advantage of them?
Well, I do think that for economic development, I mean, again, the manufacturers are looking for places. I mean, they need people. And if they get the people, there's probably things there that they would like to expand, and do things with it. I do think the housing is an opportunity that is there. It's going to take some concerted effort to be able to do that. I think there's a real need for some elderly housing facilities type thing. And if we could move some of the, and I know this may sound bad initially, but if we could move some of the elderly that are maybe in substandard housing now, and there is some of that in Fairfield, and not that they're the
Right.
cause of that, but if we could move them, have a facility where they could go and free up that other housing that they're in, it might help improve that. The one thing I saw that when a recent trip in Chicago, my daughter who lives there, is that they moved into an area where they were actually taking old houses that were within the confined city limits, tearing them down, and people then evidently being able to build on that site, and then they build nice 2, 3-story houses. And the reason they were doing is that the city itself had no more available ground to build. Yet they had the other things going for them. They were close to the trains. They liked the schools that were there. So it was a situation that hopefully benefited everybody. The city got rid of some low taxable value places. You had new people coming in, particularly younger people with families that they're going to add to the tax base. And I think to a limited extent, that might possibly work in Fairfield.
Is there anything that you'd like to say that I didn't ask? I mean, anything that you feel that you need to communicate to?
No, I mean, I just think that from a city standpoint, the city has, in the 40 years that I've been there, Um, you know, unfortunately, we've stayed about the same size, the city population, the county population, but it's pretty much true of southeast Iowa. Um, the population is just starting to age, you know, so there are definitely other issues that they're there. Uh, but we're aware of that kind of thing, so we're trying to solve that. But it takes time. It just isn't going to happen overnight. And then that's where I think a lot of people expect something to happen. You know, they mention it and they think the next day it's going to miraculously change. It just doesn't work that way.